Welcome back, everybody. We are in Exodus. I think this week was from chapter 1 to chapter 21, I believe.
Was it 21?
21, yeah.
Was it 21, Abraham?
Yes, it was 21. Okay. So, here, lead us, JP.
So we start off with Exodus 1 from the beginning, pretty much. And it's how Pharaoh has what's it called? Self-esteem issues and wants all the male babies killed.
So let's go off from last week. We ended with Joseph, right?
That's right.
Joseph did.
He died.
And this is about 400 years later?
Pretty much.
His people are now enslaved in Egypt. Poor Israelites. And so now we meet a man named, Moses. Not yet. Yes, before Moses, go ahead. Set up the seed. How you were saying.
Oh, so pretty much Pharaoh wanted all the Hebrew male babies killed, which is a little funny because if you flash forward, what's his name? Not Pilate, the one in the New Testament that wanted all the males killed when Jesus was born.
Oh, Herod.
Yeah, he wanted the same thing because he was scared of Jesus. So pretty much, Moses. What's Moses' mom's name? Did it say
his mom's name? Did it say his mom's name?
Yes.
I'll look it up.
Okay. So pretty much she sees this going on and she wraps Moses like a little itty bitty burrito and puts him in a basket and floats him down the Nile.
It doesn't say her name. It just says she was a Levite woman.
Well, name or not.
Anyway.
She puts him in the basket, saves him from death until Pharaoh's daughter, correct?
Yes.
Pharaoh's daughter finds him
down the Nile,
and pretty much goes up to Pharaoh and she's like, "Can we keep him? Like he's a little puppy." And she's like, that's where she says, "I know somebody that can nurse him or whatever."
His mom.
Yeah,
his actual mom.
Moses' biological mom. So she basically nursed him until he was about what?
And
it didn't say specifically, right?
No, just I don't know how long they nurse babies.
Yeah. So basically, Moses' mom was able to nurse Moses until he
So he didn't need it anymore.
Yes, basically.
Right.
And
I think the only person they name is Miriam, the sister.
The sister. Is that her name later?
Miriam, I think, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, he has a sister? Oh, that's the one that found him. Yeah. Right? Okay. Pharaoh's daughter.
Yeah.
Also, she left with them.
Oh, yeah?
Wow. She rebelled against her papa.
Daddy issues. So basically, Moses gets older, and he sees...
He grew up with Pharaoh in wealth, Pharaoh, I guess, yeah. Right? He grew up well.
Yeah. And one day he sees an Egyptian beating up a Hebrew slave.
One of his own
people. And he had enough of it. And so Moses goes up and he handles business with the Egyptian. Everybody sees, and out of fear of that, he flees.
He runs away.
He goes to Midian.
Hold on, before that, isn't it just crazy how when you grew up pretty much in the palace, in the kingdom, but you were raised by your mom.
In a palace that you weren't supposed to be in to begin with.
Well, yeah, but even that is just like it's kind of like growing or raising a spy like inside the palace.
Yeah.
Because he knew, like, Moses was the name given to him by Miriam.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he had some other Jewish name or something. But it's crazy how he's like in there, like he's integrated inside the kingdom, but he's still growing up with his parents and his family.
And I'm seeing here the crazy part is that Moses' mom was paid to raise him. That's pretty cool.
I wonder how long she stayed there. I'm thinking it was just until she weaned him. Was she able to stay in there?
I'm pretty sure they stay Because they want to be, I think they would want you to be with someone who's familiar.
Babies, kind of like a babysitter.
Yeah, and I don't think they trust anybody else if the servant was doing good or something. So,
Because I didn't hear anything after that about his mom, right? She never came up again. His biological mom. Right? I never heard anything. So, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
so it goes to Midian, then what?
Mm-hmm. Then what?
Then your turn.
He's a Midian.
Yeah. No. Oh, he finds a woman.
Ah.
A vieja.
The woman finds him.
Or the,
Oh,
no reason.
maybe.
So he finds a vieja. He gets married. What else? What else?
With his father-in-law. His father-in-law marries or gives his daughter to Moses.
Oh, Jethro?
Mm-hmm.
Is that his name?
And then well, that's before, because remember he flees because he killed an Egyptian. Or did we go through that already?
That was after. He flees because he killed the guy.
Yeah.
So he goes to Midian, he finds a wife and has
Yeah.
2 kids, right? Two boys.
And you would think though, like his own people, when he's trying to fight for them, like not to fight, yet like they kind of turn against him. Like why? I don't know. This is weird.
And after he finds a woman.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. I was just reading one of the questions, and so like how it says how God shows up to Moses and gives him an assignment after he had murdered someone. How would you feel if your pastor or boss had murdered someone before they became your leader? How do you think that incident would impact them and their view on their ability to lead?
You think of Paul?
Yeah, he was the worst of the
He
worst.
was the worst of the worst. Yeah. People forget about that. They think, but then you look at that. If you think about it, remember he killed people and he tortured people. He even said like he felt bad. Like what could he do though? Just imagine being torture your family where they enough for their torturing. Just imagine your family and where he's trying to make you to deny God. He's trying to do that, and
Well, that was back then, right? But let's bring it to like in our time. What if there is like this? Let's just say the John Wayne Gacy, right? He killed a bunch of people, and then he gets converted, and he starts being a preacher, preaching the word. How would that impact you? How would you perceive that? That him, like, would you take him seriously, like the people in the Bible, or would you like have your, I don't know, like your
doubts?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on your fruits. I mean, I know he wasn't a murderer, but look at Kanye. I mean, his conversion now, I don't know if it's true or not, but look at his fruits. Nothing's really at first Donda 2, but.
Well, I can understand people coming from the world, but how about like murder?
Well, coming from the prison ministry, I was ministering to an inmate who was in there he said he didn't do it, but we all knew he did it. He was in there for rape and kidnapping. And he was one of the lead, no, not lead, but he was one of the people that the other inmates looked up to. He seemed like a genuine person, many conversations with him. He really knew a lot about the Bible. I even think outside of prison, I would trust him, even though he was in there for heinous acts, his fruits showed otherwise, basically.
And I think what helped Moses was because he didn't return to Egypt till years later. And I think it said people forgot about him. Like
the Pharoh died.
Pharaoh died. And so also for me, to your question, it has to be some time after. I won't believe you if you just murdered him the day before and then you're over there.
Oh, so you wouldn't believe Paul then?
Was it like that? Day and night?
Right away.
Yeah. And remember Ananias? Was it Ananias?
Oh, that's right. He blinded him.
Yeah.
No,
That's right.
No, God blinded him.
Yeah. That's right.
He had told Ananias that you're going to pray for me. He was scared. He goes, haven't you seen what this guy's been doing? He's been murdering all your people.
Yeah, so I
was scared.
I kind of would be a little...
Is there a difference, though, between a plain murderer and he was through the law, though? Just imagine maybe a CIA agent.
Oh, well, that's...
Or a regular person. Because he was doing murdering through the law, because he wasn't just murdering people, he was doing it with the law at the same time.
I mean,
Is there a difference between, I think, that or just a regular murder?
I mean, that's opening up a what's it called, a can of worms, because like people in the military or like police officers, they got to kill someone on duty. Like, is God gonna judge them when they get to heaven or to Judgment Day? Like, hey, you did this, it was your job, but that's a sin.
I guess it's only if you plan the murder.
I think
is that intentional?
It's based on your heart.
Well, yeah.
Because Paul, he was doing it because he was, he didn't like Christians. But the other one that you mentioned, he was doing it because he legit thought he was doing the right thing.
So what would you think about the Nazi soldiers who put in the Jews inside the ovens? They were just following orders too.
At that time, they believed they were doing the right thing with the correct information they had.
But if they didn't repent,
I mean, if they didn't repent, then
does it matter? Well, look at Paul. Like, if you hadn't repented, I think he would not.
But wouldn't you, at the moment, your morality say, "Hey, this is wrong. Why am I doing this?"
Maybe, but maybe they've been brainwashed the whole time. I don't know.
So I'll bring in more like to more current events. This battle between the Border Patrol and then the Texas Troopers or Texas Police.
We all know where we stand on that.
Yeah, and so like, so there's.
Let me take my razor wire.
And it's not even that. I think.
Gosh.
You see, they started making flags. They took out the cannon, but they put razor wire. Like,
Oh my
take it.
God.
Might buy a shirt.
Yeah. No, but so the Republicans are saying that Border Patrol is aiding the government in human trafficking because they're letting people come in without any processing. They're just opening the door and letting them in. They're not stopping them from being. I mean, they're literally just opening the door, and then whatever happens is gonna happen.
Yep.
So I mean, they're complicit, and Texas is saying, "Hey, that you're not supposed to do that. We're gonna protect our borders." Wouldn't that be the same thing?
It would. I mean, at the end of the day, if you believe what you're doing is the right thing, because also too, if it's a job, then like, for example, for a DPS, and they got to be down there and they got to put the razor wire up. That's their livelihood. That's.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, because you're not. Now, if you're forcing the people through that and kind of murdering them, but you're just blocking it.
But you're taking orders from the government. So the government is not really doing anything. They're using you, the soldiers and the Border Patrol, to do what they want you to do. Yeah, so aren't you complicit too? Because you can always say no.
But they're not hurting the people.
No. It's not about hurting the people. The thing is that they're complicit in it because they open the door and they don't arrest them. They don't send them back. They push them on through. So they're letting whatever they want to do as far as human trafficking go, they're letting it happen.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or no?
Well, it kind of makes sense, but I don't understand what I guess what you're trying to, the question you're trying to come down with, or the response.
No, because we're talking about, is it about Moses? Like, is it right for him to now become this leader after he killed somebody? Like, how does it affect the people that he's trying to lead? When everybody knew, because remember, he killed the guy, and then he
was trying to break up a fight. No.
Yeah. He tried to break up a fight, and he goes, and the other guy goes, "Well, you're gonna kill me like you did that other Egyptian." So everybody knew.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that affect you from following him? Like, if he's saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go to Pharaoh so that we can let us all go," like, bro, you just killed somebody.
It goes back to the fruits. At the end of the day. I think.
And what God says. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, God's. It's dumb, but God says one thing, but we go based off the fruits. You know what I mean? That's how we judge someone's characters, judge what they're doing in a church. Because I'm pretty sure we've all seen pastors or preachers or even worship leaders say, they come from God, but their fruits show otherwise. You know what I mean?
I don't know, it's just a thought. It's one of the questions that was here. Okay, so now we're going to Midian.
Mm-hmm.
He finds a wife.
Pharaoh dies.
Pharaoh dies.
God's like, I got you, my peoples.
In a burning bush. Remember?
A burning bush shows up. But the bush wasn't being burned. It was just fire. Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't consumed.
No, it wasn't consumed.
It was just on fire.
It was just on fire. And pretty much that's where God called him. He's like, I need you to do something. And Moses put all these excuses. Like, I stutter when I speak, or I'm not the one. I'm not the right person.
I'm a murderer.
I'm a murderer. And God's like, you're still going to do it because he don't care.
Told him get the staff.
Yeah.
Staff turned into a snake. And then that's how far I got.
Wow, man.
Your Bible was blank after that.
That's how far I went. I remember the rest from reading it before, but from recently, that's as far as I got.
Yeah, basically that it was God calling him. He was like, I'm reading it directly. He's like, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the children to Israel out of Egypt? But then God repeatedly said multiple times, but I will be with you. And so he sent him many, many signs. And basically that's where God told him basically the future. He's like, you're going to go to Pharaoh. Pharaoh's going to harden his heart. I'm going to show many signs, but that's not going to work. Pharaoh's heart's going to be hardened. And him and his brother, Aaron, they go to Pharaoh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're at Pharaoh, and they do what God tells them. And
it's interesting, side note, that I was reading in the bottom, because it kept saying God hardened his heart. But then I think, well, wait, don't we have free will? But then I thought, no, I think over time, Pharaoh just got worse and worse. It just got plague after plague. Because it was like 10 plagues. Yeah. And so I think it just, I don't know if
I think
he actually hardened the heart. I don't know.
I think there's another verse where it says something about where he gives you what you want. So if that's what you want, he'll just give it to you more. Like if I guess he gave it to him because that's what he wanted. I think I gotta look for the verse, but I think there's a verse where it says where God like he like what he says he gives them to the lie. You know what I mean? Where he makes them believe the lie because that's what they want. He goes, that's what you want to do? Well, he makes you believe it. So I guess that's what something maybe. Not that he hardened it. It said he already had hardened it. So he goes, okay, that's what you want. I'm just going to make it harder even more.
Mm-hmm.
To where, instead of where you would have just stopped at one, now you're going to stop at the other one because that's what you wanted. So I think so. I don't know.
Yeah. No, yeah. And then it finally, the last plague is where Pharaoh finally realizes that he needs to let him go, which is what?
Let my people go.
Death of the firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Because then his firstborn son, the one that was set to, I guess, rule after him, dead. And so now Pharaoh finally, sadly, and I was reading in my Cliff Notes in the Bible, it was saying that, it was putting it, all the Cliff Notes, it puts us in the story. So for us, sometimes I had it written down. It said how easy it is to complain too quickly. Oh no, not that one. Okay, this one. We can't wait for something bad to happen to get closer and recognize God. And sometimes that happens, right? And this is what happened to Pharaoh. He, plague after plague. Oh, because initially he would say yes, right? Like, oh, go. But then he'd change his mind. Then, yeah, change your mind. Yeah, change your mind. Finally, the death of his son, he finally realized how great, how powerful God is. And it took for his son to be dead for him to realize. Like, he could have stopped at the first plague. And he could have just let him go, and he would have avoided all this disease, all this, what was it, locusts, gnats, flies, boils, darkness, frogs.
It's funny how God, he showed his power through the plagues, but Pharaoh was like, no, my people can do it too. Kind of almost.
Oh, yes.
How would you
like
say?
Witchcraft, or right?
Like deminimalizing the power of God. Kind of
Yeah.
saying like, he's not that powerful. Like, my people can do it too.
Exactly. And it wasn't until the end that he realized how powerful he is.
Except the gnats. That's the only one that they couldn't replicate.
Hmm.
And the frogs. Right.
The frogs, yeah. They did everything from the serpent to
The blood in the Nile.
water, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The hail, all the boils. And the hail one, it was interesting that it only affected the Egyptian people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the darkness too. It's just the Egyptian people.
Darkness, yeah. That's true.
I wonder what it was. I wonder what that guy used, something natural or something supernatural. Did like put like a comet on there or something, or like a moon,
Or maybe it just lined up perfectly for an eclipse.
or a long.
Just 3 days. Yeah.
Maybe.
Because it was just there. It wasn't nowhere else.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if it was a spaceship?
Here we go. So yeah, so his people they leave, but before they leave, they celebrate leaving the Passover. It was funny that God already it's basically a party. Like, oh, I want you to remember this time when I took you out of Egypt. And it's crazy because I was watching the videos, the Bible recap. I was like, oh, I heard Passover. I didn't even know what it meant. But now it's because he was telling the Israelites the night before, oh, don't eat, but be quick or be ready to leave, basically. And on your doors, put the blood of an innocent lamb, because that's the sacrifice, which reflects Jesus later in the Bible. And then the Passover is when the angel of the Lord, which is Passover. Yeah. I was like, that makes sense. So.
But you kind of pass through it. But when they say a feast, right? What they do is they eat unleavened bread.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has like a couple meanings, but the ones that I could find out was that unleavened bread is pretty much without yeast.
It doesn't rise.
It doesn't rise. So the reason why they say don't put leaven in your bread is because you're not going to have time. You need to be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
When I say, hey, let's go, it's time to go, we're getting out of here.
But wait, the bread's not rise yet.
Yeah, so that's why they celebrate unleavened bread. But it's interesting too, because the Passover, it says that it was the angel of the Lord who went through all the land, and if the blood of the lamb was not on the doors, and then he would kill the firstborn, right? But it's crazy how the symbol of the Passover
is the cross,
and then the lamb is the blood of the lamb, and then Jesus is the one, Christ incarnate, or not incarnate, but spirit is the one who came through. And so it's kind of like a foreshadowing of even when Jesus was about to die, because they celebrated Passover the day before he died.
Oh yeah,
they ate unleavened bread, and he was the lamb to be sacrificed.
Ooh. Boom.
It's just a crazy thing how it all comes together. But yeah, it's my thing.
Yeah.
And also for the Revelations, when he marked them all before the angel of the Lord destroyed, he goes, wait into the ones that are marked, and then do your thing.
Yeah.
It's like in 3 parts: the past, their present, and then the future.
So the people leave, and then Pharaoh follows them, right? And then the big Red Sea party.
Mm-hmm.
Watcha. I was reading that some historians thought it wasn't the deep end, but it has to be, because it washed away like the chariots and all that. It has to be deep enough to,
Well, deep
or
enough for that,
enough water, I guess.
You're forgetting something cool though.
Go.
The pillars in the cloud of fire that guided.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's after.
No.
Oh, no, that was before.
yeah.
You're
Stopping
right.
them from coming.
You're right.
Basically, God guiding them
Yeah.
to the promised land.
And I think for being not that deep, that's good, because and then imagine if you had to go all that deep and then you're gonna have to come back up.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that was a good thing where kind of keep it level, because then they're gonna get tired of all the cows. Thinking about if the ocean,
Steepness.
if it's that deep, you're gonna have to go back up. So if it's
That's
somewhere
right.
more, you know.
I think of that.
But when we're talking about the past, future, present, isn't it funny that God sees everything?
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, the past is going on right now, and the future is going on at the same time.
Yeah. He sees it all in one.
Yeah, so technically, like, isn't it? I feel like, is it still going on right now? Like he's out of it, so he's looking at us. Yeah, he's looking at the past, and then he's looking at the future. Like if you get your brain kind of thinking that, like it's kind of like freaky. If you're out of that space and time, I don't know. What's this aside now?
That's another pod. I know. Whole another pod. But yeah, so they crossed the Red Sea and they're home free. But then the people quickly, and I guess we'll read throughout Exodus that the people quickly forget, don't put their trust in God. They complain a lot. They they don't think that God is with them. But it's like, well, look where he's brought you. Look, I don't know.
He's weird. He's done some like the greatest miracles, right, of all time,
and they still like, where are you?
What's even crazier is that they said they complained, but it's when they were literally just brought out of Egypt. They saw this whole water show, fire show, and then when they get to the other side, they're like, "Hey, this water's bitter. What the heck?
What am I gonna drink?"
What was that? What are you doing? We were better off in Egypt. We could eat from the piles of meat and unlimited water. Why did you bring us here?"
And then they but it's like we complain too.
And then the manna from heaven too.
The manna.
I thought I complained.
But like
These people.
We know you complain.
But think about I was trying to think about it today. If I really was there, would I complain? But then you would see all these signs. Like you said, you saw the fire show, the water show. You saw later. You'll see Mount Sinai. Like,
do you think that's why God isn't as active in our time, because He knows that we'll take it too much for granted? Know what I mean?
He already said that when Jesus came. He's like, well, I'm not going to do signs and miracles anymore because you won't believe it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, because he tried it with the Israelites, and I was like,
yeah, I mean,
if y'all are like this, imagine the people who don't believe in me. Yeah.
Like, they're the chosen people.
Like, you've seen me in doing all these things, and still you don't believe. So it's better to have faith.
And then they were complaining, and God still provided.
Yes.
The rock.
That was, and anything. They were hungry. They got the food. They got, the water out of the rock.
Strike your staff on the rock.
He took them to like a well, or like not a well, but like a nice place to get water. Like,
it's
all
funny,
this stuff.
It's funny, like with manna, right? He only gave you the food that you need.
Yes.
And it was only good for that short amount of time. Like, you couldn't
hoard it or store it.
Yeah, so I think
save it for later.
I think he was trying to like kind of test them, like, hey, so I'm only gonna give you what you need at the moment, just to see if maybe you're not like hoarding things and like stashing things for later. Like, because when you stash stuff like that, is because you're thinking
you're not putting your trust in God.
Yeah, you're either not gonna have enough for tomorrow, or you don't know what's coming tomorrow, and you don't trust anything, God at all. That's why you collect things, or they were collecting the food because they didn't trust and they didn't know if they were gonna get food tomorrow. Even though
Exactly.
God said, right, I'm just going to provide everything, but he's looking at their hearts. He was testing them, I think.
Yeah, and he kept.
So with that being said, would it be, play that into today's terms, would it be bad to say do a savings account, for example? You're hoarding up money. Can that be applied in the same way? It's because it's kind of like saying I'm saving up money because I'm not trusting what God's gonna do. But then at the other side of the coin, we know that saving money is good for something that happens in case.
Yeah, but I don't think it really applies only because it's not like they're putting manna in the savings account. You know what I mean? We already have more than enough provisions here that we can save. But they're walking through a desert. You can't really save it. Even like, let's look at it logically. You're in a desert. Everything during the day is gonna burn. It's gonna rot out because of the heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then at night, you'd have to build the fire. It has to last to the night, which I don't know if you ever noticed that, like, natural bread, the bread that doesn't have any preservatives or anything like that, only lasts like maybe 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the store bread that lasts a week. So I don't think the food that they had would have lasted long anyway, but they were still hoarding it.
Mm-hmm.
So that just you just see their heart. So it's not like they're trying to save it for saving's sake. No, they were just trying to. They weren't trusting.
No.
When you save here in the world, it's because maybe you were saving for something. You're not saving it because you don't know if you're gonna have a job. Yeah, of course you might not have a job tomorrow, but you don't live in that fear because you trust in God that He's gonna get you through, and it's not. So it's not like the Israelites where they were day by day, and because of that fear, they were more doubtful, I guess. Because they didn't really know God. They only knew God through Moses.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Manny, thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I guess, yeah, after the water from the rock,
Mm-hmm.
they get into a little battle.
A little battle. Poor Moses, though.
I know, he's like, poor Joshua, he had to bring up, get an army
Mm-hmm.
the night before. And we meet Joshua, right? He ends up leading the people to the promised land.
Yeah.
Right? He's the one that ends up doing it.
Well, no, Moses now, because when Moses' hands were raised,
Oh, that's right. He had to keep them up.
and when he lowered his hands,
They weren't winning.
they weren't winning.
They literally had to put like a rock, no? For it
No,
to stay up.
What does it say here?
Eventually they did.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron and her held up his hands.
Them too.
One by one, yeah.
So, quick little battle.
I've seen this verse a lot in a lot of sermons where like, this is why you need to raise your hands during worship.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's interesting, like,
No, yeah.
when
They couldn't
you're
get
raising your
something
hands
else?
in worship, it's basically saying you're surrendering. I don't know if that's what it means here. But when his hands were up, the battle was being won. When his hands were down, they weren't doing so hot.
Yeah.
I guess you could take that metaphorically. I don't know if symbolically, I mean, that if you raise your hands, you're getting the victory, sure. But I think more literal back then, because I think literally God was with Moses, so whatever he told him to do was going to affect the outcome. So, but for us today, it's more symbolic, I think. I don't know. It could be spiritually, in the spiritual realm, keeping your hands up will win you the battle, but it's more symbolically, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So they win it. And then,
The end.
no. It's interesting. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, he comes in like to seize him, I guess. I don't know where he was. I guess he was still in Egypt. I don't know.
No, he went with them.
He went with them?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
okay.
then later on left.
Oh,
He
okay.
left later on.
Oh, okay.
But he helped Moses like start the hierarchy of chain of command.
Yeah, he helped. He was a wise man, Jethro. And it seemed that he didn't really know God, but like through Moses' testimony and saying, hey, look what all God has done, Jethro's like, yeah, I see what God has done and I believe now. So that was kind of cool. And so the Mount Sinai.
The first time information was downloaded from the cloud
Ah!
On a tablet.
on a tablet.
Ah!
What happened in Mount Sinai?
Thunder.
The spaceship came down.
The aliens.
They couldn't touch the mountain.
Mm-mm.
They couldn't, that was interesting. They couldn't touch it, and then everyone was scared because I guess, what did God say? He's like, oh, he told Moses to come up, right? And the people were like all scared. I would be too, like, what's going on? And so, and then, yeah, up there, he gave them the 10 Commandments. The first 4 relate to God that I saw. Or, yeah. And then the rest relate to others, like how you are with others. And then that's it. That's what I got.
Yeah, basically, it's the rest. It's the commandments, the laws about like how to keep your altars and stuff. About slaves, doesn't mean slaves like that. It just means servants for all you woke people. And
We're canceled.
There goes the pod. And about yeah, that's about it. Oh, and restitution too. And we're canceled again. That's it. That's Exodus 1 through 21.
Well, that was the last episode of Church. Manny, any thoughts?
It was fun ride.
Razor wire and slaves. Oh yeah, we're getting canceled.
No, it was pretty interesting.
What's your takeaway?
There we're still like the people of Israel.
Yeah.
But I think we're not. Well, I'm not saying we're great or that bad, but still, like they saw everything and they were still bad. Sometimes it feels like weird because we don't see that, and I don't know. So, but it's still difficult. But I think it would be worse if we saw what they did, and if we still didn't want God. I think God would treat us a lot worse because he's giving you everything.
Yeah.
You know, he's showing you everything, and yet you still don't want to believe. And if we didn't want to believe at that point, like it's just gonna be worse for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the more responsibility. The more you see, the more responsibility you have, type of thing. Or with great power, sometimes something like that.
Comes great responsibility.
Well, you know the saying, but that's not what I'm trying to say. But you know,
It sucks that they ruined it for all of us just because they didn't believe. We don't get to see all those cool signs and wonders now. It sucks.
I still blame Eve.
The woman.
mm-hmm.
But I'm going to piggyback off of what you said because I think we have the privilege of seeing everything now from the host because we know the story from beginning to end. And so I think you were saying when you know more, you're responsible for more. We know everything now. Ooh. So like if we still behave like them back then, like that makes us worse, I think.
No, I think what's worse was the people when Jesus was around. He said this generation's the worst because they saw him eye to eye and they shouldn't believe. I think that was the worst generation.
No, oh yeah, I just mean it in the sense that we know the story from beginning to end now. So if we don't do it or we don't follow, that's also bad because we already know what happens, and if we don't align with that plan, then how better are we than they were? You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
JP, that's thoughts.
I don't know. It's cool how God is still faithful even though we're not. Like he gives us literally everything we want, and we still complain. They still complained. Like it's not enough, you know. For example, like for the house when we were buying the house, when we were told that the first house that we were gonna buy it fell through for some sketchy guy that was involved in the process. we were complaining, and
The appraisal.
the appraisal, it was undervalued by like 30,000-40,000, and we were complaining like, why us, why this, and God shut us up a day or two later with the new house with even more stuff including in it, and that's just how we are.
And money back.
And money back. Oh, they sent us in $200 back too.
Something about the HOV or something.
HOV, yeah, I don't know.
It's towards our mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, God's faithful even though we're not. So, final take.
Yeah, I'll go off of what you said. That's what I got from it. The whole complaining and the whole, like, I got this verse from my little, well, not verse, but little paragraph. It said, "How easy it is to complain too quickly, only to be embarrassed by God's gracious provision." And I was like, that's perfect. That's perfectly said. That, after, God proves you wrong and tells you, duh, I've been here. Like, I always feel like embarrassed or like kind of shame. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, dang, I shouldn't have doubted. Or why did I, why did I think that way or doubt him when time and time again he proves that he's with us. So that's what I got. And that wraps it up for this week. We will see you next week still in Exodus.